At 72 years old, James had been following the same private routine for over 5 decades. No major health problems, no new medications, but something felt off. He came to me and said, "Doc, I don't know why, but lately I just can't feel much anymore." He wasn't alone. Many older men don't realize that the habits they've held onto for years, habits that once brought comfort or connection, may be quietly taking a toll on their health. Not because the act itself is wrong, but because how it's done has stopped evolving with the body's natural changes. I'm Dr. Daniel Hart, a board-certified urologist, and after working with thousands of men across the U.S., I've seen a quiet truth unfold after 60. Your body speaks differently, and if you don't learn to listen, the very routines that once felt harmless can slowly erode your vitality. From your heart to your prostate to your sense of self. In this video, we're diving deep into the 7 most common mistakes older men make when it comes to self-pleasure and how to fix them. Whether it's something as subtle as posture or as hidden as emotional disconnection, we'll uncover what your body might be trying to tell you before it's too late. So if you're a man in your 60s, 70s, or beyond and you're ready to feel strong, connected, and alive again, this might be the most important video you watch all year. Before we continue, I want to invite you man to stay connected. If this message is already speaking to something you felt but never voiced, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And if you've ever thought, "Why didn't anyone tell me this sooner?" leave a 1 in the comments so I know you are still in the fight. This channel is a space for truth, not judgment. And together, we're rewriting what aging really looks like. At first, it seems harmless, convenient, private, a quick escape from stress, boredom, or loneliness. For many older men, especially those in their 60s or 70s, watching adult content became a routine long ago, something done in silence, maybe even with a tinge of guilt, but without thinking twice. But what if I told you that this quiet habit is slowly reprogramming your brain, numbing your body, and draining your emotional energy? You see, after 60, your brain's dopamine system, the part responsible for pleasure, motivation, and reward, is no longer firing like it did in your 20s. Dopamine is the spark that fuels joy, excitement, connection, but when it's overloaded, like when you constantly flood it with the rapid, high-intensity clips found in modern pornography, it doesn't get stronger. It shuts down your brain. In its effort to protect you from overstimulation, begins to numb your sensitivity. That means the very spark you once felt from a loving touch, a soft voice, or even your own body's natural responses starts to fade, and you may not even notice it at first. You'll just feel off, less connected, more hollow. Pleasure becomes mechanical. Your interest in real intimacy slips away, and worst of all, you might begin to believe it's just getting old. But here's the truth most men don't hear. It's not aging, it's overstimulation. It's what happens when the body is fed artificial highs over and over again, without room to feel something authentic. Think of it like drinking soda every day instead of water. At first, it tastes great, sweet, exciting, even energizing. But after a while, your body gets sluggish, your system confused. Real nourishment like connection, affection, or even a slow, mindful touch no longer registers the same way. You crave the quick fix, but it doesn't satisfy. It never really did. The good news, you can reset your system, but it won't come from more intensity. It comes from simplicity, from honesty. Start by dialing it back slowly, not with shame, but with curiosity. Ask yourself, when was the last time I truly felt something, not from a screen, but from within? Replace fast content with slower, more natural stimulation, not just visually, but emotionally. Use your imagination, your memories, your senses. Rebuild your connection to you, not some unrealistic fantasy. And here's the beautiful part. When you stop bombarding your mind with artificial dopamine, your natural chemistry begins to heal. Sensitivity returns. Your body starts responding again. Touch feels electric. You don't need to chase intensity. You become it. So if you've noticed you're feeling less alive lately, less emotionally connected, less physically satisfied, this might be the silent habit behind it. You're not broken. You're just overstimulated. And it's time to reset. It sounds convenient, even practical. You're alone. The door is locked. And the bathroom has become a private escape for many older men. But here's the problem. What feels like a safe space may actually be doing quiet damage to one of the most important parts of your body, your prostate. For men over 60, circulation becomes everything. The way blood moves through your lower body, your pelvis, your prostate, your sexual organs directly affects your ability to perform, to recover, and to feel. And when you're sitting on the toilet, hunched forward, with your lower half compressed and still for long periods of time, you're unintentionally cutting off that vital flow. It might not feel like much in the moment, but over time, this habit starts a silent chain reaction. Pressure builds in your pelvic region. Blood struggles to move freely. The pelvic floor tightens unnaturally and most dangerously. Your prostate, the small gland sitting right beneath your bladder, gets squeezed and inflamed. It's like stepping on a garden hose. At first, the pressure might not show, but eventually, the system backs up. These signs, they often come disguised as just getting older. You might notice trouble urinating, dribbling, slow flow, or difficulty fully emptying your bladder. Maybe you've felt an ache in your lower abdomen or groin. Or maybe you've started struggling with erections, wondering why things feel different, weaker, less reliable, and yet very few men connect the dots between these symptoms and their bathroom habits. As a urologist might tell you after years of scans, stories, and follow-ups, it's not always disease. Sometimes it's positioning, a posture repeated over and over, day after day. That gradually weakens the very system you need to protect most. The good news, this is one of the easiest fixes. You can make that start by changing your environment. Step out of the bathroom for moments of self-care. Find a space where you can either stand naturally or lie down in a relaxed, open position, giving your pelvic area room to breathe. Think of it as creating a healthier ritual, not just for pleasure, but for long-term function. The way you treat your body now determines what it gives back to you in the years ahead. And there's another layer to this. Most men overlook your mind. The bathroom might feel like the only place you're allowed to be yourself. But when that freedom comes at the cost of health, it's worth asking, is it really freedom? You don't have to give up privacy. You just need to give your body better conditions to thrive. And you don't have to make drastic changes overnight. Small shifts like standing, reclining, or choosing a softer, more natural setting can restore blood flow, reduce inflammation, and bring relief to issues you've quietly accepted as normal. You deserve to feel good not just during, but after. So if you've been noticing a drop in performance, a bit more discomfort, or just something off that you can't explain, consider where it's happening, not just how. Your prostate is silently begging you for space, and this small adjustment might just change everything for years. You've been wired to move fast, get things done, be efficient, and somewhere along the line, even your most personal moments follow the same script: quick, quiet, and over with. But what if that very habit, the one you thought was harmless, was silently draining your emotional and physical vitality? Many men over 60 don't even realize it's happening. They treat self-pleasure like checking off a box, a mechanical act, a way to get it over with rather than a chance to reconnect with their own body. But here's the truth that often gets overlooked. Rushing through intimacy, even with yourself, sends the wrong message. To your nervous system, it triggers stress instead of release. It activates tension instead of relaxation. And the cost? It's more than just a few last minutes of enjoyment. When you rush, your body doesn't get the full wave of feel-good hormones like oxytocin, dopamine, or serotonin. You might reach climax, but you're left feeling hollow instead of fulfilled, drained instead of restored. It becomes a transaction, not a connection, over time. This hurry-up habit dulls your sensitivity. You begin to lose the ability to stay aroused. You struggle to feel deeply whether alone or with a partner. Your emotional link to pleasure weakens. And you start to believe that's just what aging feels like. But it's not age, it's speed. You see, the male body changes with time. It asks for slowness, for presence, for breath and intention. When you rush, you teach your body that pleasure is shallow, fleeting, and disconnected. And eventually, that message becomes hardwired. But there's a powerful shift available to you, and it starts by slowing down. There is no finish line anymore, no stopwatch, no race to the end. You don't need to prove anything or beat the clock. What you need is presence, to let each moment unfold without pressure, to explore not escape. Imagine what would happen if you treated this time not as a release, but as a ritual. A quiet space where you could tune in instead of tune out. A place where you breathe, pause, feel and allow your body to guide you, not rush you. Think of it like recharging the power center of your lower body, because that's exactly what it is. And once you reconnect with it, once you start building awareness and strength, you'll wonder how you ever went so long without paying attention to it. This isn't about vanity or performance. It's about ownership, about restoring a connection to a part of yourself that quietly defines how you feel as a man. So, don't wait for symptoms to get worse. Don't assume this is just part of aging. It's not too late to restore control, sensation, and energy from the inside out. Start with just a few pelvic floor contractions each day, sitting, standing, or lying down. Be gentle, be consistent, and remember, strength doesn't always look like muscles you can see. Sometimes it begins deep within with the muscles that hold your manhood together. One of the most confusing and uncomfortable questions many older men carry silently is this: how often is too often? Or conversely, has it been too long? And between shame, outdated advice, or simply not knowing where to turn, many end up trapped in extremes, either overdoing it or abandoning it completely. But here's the truth most doctors don't say out loud: your body needs a rhythm, not rules. Not rigidity, but a healthy, sustainable rhythm. Let's talk first about doing it too frequently. It often doesn't begin as a choice. It creeps in during moments of boredom, stress, loneliness, or just the need to feel something familiar. Over time, what once brought joy becomes a habit, a reflex more than a desire. And when that happens, your nervous system pays the price. You might start noticing energy crashes, a drop in motivation, or even a diminished interest in real intimacy. Your prostate can become irritated, your recovery time longer, and your emotional connection to the act begins to blur. Instead of being something fulfilling, it becomes something that leaves you feeling drained, numb, or detached. But swinging to the other extreme, stopping altogether, can be just as harmful. Many older men, whether due to health concerns, medication, religious guilt, or the belief that those days are behind me, simply shut off the valve. The consequences are quieter, but just as real. Without regular arousal, blood flow to the genitals decreases. The tissues that once responded easily begin to stiffen, not with strength, but with atrophy. The nerves become less responsive, and that vital connection between body and mind starts to fade. Before long, it's not just your body that feels distant, it's your sense of vitality, your spark, your connection to being fully alive. So, what's the answer? Not a rigid schedule, not a magic number, but a gentle sweet spot that supports both your physical health and emotional well-being. For most men over 60, that sweet spot often lands at around 1 to 2 times per week. But here's the key, it's not just the frequency, it's the intention. Behind it, it's not about chasing performance or proving anything. It's about staying connected to your body, to your emotions, and to your sense of worth. Think of it as maintenance. Like watering a plant, not too much, not too little, but just enough to keep it thriving. So next time you ask yourself, is this too much or has it been too long? Listen to your body. Not from a place of fear, but from a place of curiosity and care. Because the goal isn't perfection, it's presence. And when you approach this part of your life with awareness, dignity, and gentleness, you reclaim something far greater than. And number, you reclaim your connection to yourself, one of the most common, yet rarely talked about mistakes older men make in private is the subtle, but harmful habit of using too much force. It usually doesn't start that way. As sensitivity gradually fades with age, many men instinctively respond by gripping harder, applying more pressure, or even using external tools or surfaces to feel something. But the truth is your body isn't asking for more force, it's begging for more care. Think of it this way. The nerves in your genitals are delicate, finely tuned, and more fragile with age. They're not meant to endure aggressive friction or excessive pressure. When they do, the damage is often invisible at first: micro tears in the tissue, loss of elasticity, and even the beginning of internal scarring. These can lead to curvature, reduced blood flow, pain during arousal, or worse, the slow, creeping loss of sensation. You may find yourself saying, I used to feel more. It didn't used to take this much effort. And that frustration is real, but using more force is not the solution. In fact, it can make the problem worse. Let's get clear. This kind of damage doesn't come from one night. It builds up over years, quietly, silently, until one day you realize that what once gave you pleasure now gives you discomfort. Or nothing at all. But there's another layer here. It's not just physical. When you force your way to a feeling, when pleasure becomes a battle instead of a connection, you begin to lose the emotional bond with your body. It becomes something to control, not something to listen to. And over time, that disconnection spreads not just to your sexual health, but to your confidence, your mood, and your sense of identity as a man. So what's the solution? Gentleness, patience, and presence. Your body isn't failing you, it's changing. And it's asking you to change with it, instead of chasing lost intensity with pressure. Try rediscovering sensation through mindfulness. Soften your grip, slow your movements, let go of the idea that climax is the goal. Shift your focus to feeling, not forcing. Trust that there's still pleasure in your body if you allow it to arise. Naturally, many men in their 60s and 70s rediscover a deeper, more lasting satisfaction when they stop trying to replicate the past and instead start exploring the present, because the truth is, gentleness is not weakness, it's wisdom. Your body deserves to be treated with care, not just because it's older, but because it's yours. It's carried you through decades. It still responds. It still matters. And when you choose softness over struggle, you don't just protect your physical health, you begin to rebuild your emotional and sexual vitality from the inside out. So take this as an invitation not to stop, but to begin again with a new approach, with more kindness, more curiosity, and above all, more connection. There's a silent tragedy that happens in the lives of many men as they grow older, not on the surface, not in public, but in the quiet, private spaces where no one else sees. It's not the act of masturbation itself that causes harm. It's when that act becomes a mechanical routine, a habit stripped of any emotion, intention, or connection. Over time, many older men begin to treat their own pleasure like a checklist. Item, something to get through, to numb a moment of stress, or to fill the empty hours of the night. It becomes a reflex, not a ritual. And that shift, subtle as it is, changes everything. You may have felt it yourself. It doesn't feel the same anymore. Or maybe you've wondered, why do I even bother? These aren't just random thoughts. They are signals. Your body isn't just aging, it's asking for meaning. When touch becomes thoughtless, when presence is replaced by autopilot, the nervous system starts to shut down. The emotional circuits that once lit up during connection, dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, fade into silence. What's left is often a feeling of flatness, a disconnect. You may climax, but you don't feel nourished. You may release tension, but you don't feel relief. The body still works, but the soul feels absent. And this emotional absence takes its toll not just on your sexuality, but on your sense of manhood, your confidence, even your ability to connect with others. Because when you stop being present with yourself, it becomes harder to be present with anyone else. But here's the good news, it's never too late to rebuild that connection. You don't have to stop. You just have to shift from routine to ritual, from numbness to gratitude, from habit to presence. The next time you touch yourself, don't rush, don't disconnect. Instead, take a moment to breathe, to feel, to thank your body for still being here, for still responding, even after all these years. Let it be a moment not of escape, but of recognition, a moment to say, I'm still here. I still matter, because you do. This isn't about being sentimental, it's about being alive. When you approach your body with intention, when you give yourself the dignity of presence, something profound happens. The spark returns, sensation deepens. Your relationship with your own masculinity shifts from shame to strength, from emptiness to empowerment. Even solo touch can be sacred, an act of respect, self-care, and emotional renewal. So if you've fallen into the trap of doing it out of boredom, loneliness, or pure reflex, step back. Start again. Approach yourself with the same curiosity and compassion you might offer a partner. Light a candle, slow down, be gentle, make it a time of reconnection, not disconnection. Because the most dangerous mistake isn't overusing force or watching the wrong kind of content, it's forgetting that you still deserve to feel. You're not just a body, you're a story, a journey, a man who has weathered time and still stands. So treat yourself that way, not with guilt, but with grace. Reconnecting to reclaim your strength. When we look back at the 7 silent mistakes overusing porn, rushing through the act, ignoring the pelvic floor, doing it on the toilet, pushing too hard, neglecting frequency, or going through the emotions. Without emotion, there's one common thread: disconnection, not from the act itself, but from your own body, your emotions, your presence. And the truth is, you haven't lost it. You're not broken. You're not past your prime. You've simply been out of touch with a body that's still waiting for your attention. See, aging doesn't mean fading. It means evolving, listening deeper, being gentler, and giving yourself the same care you once gave to everyone else. Your body still speaks, but the language has changed. Slower, softer, but no less powerful. You just have to listen. So if something in this message stirred something inside you, if it made you pause and think, type 1 in the comments. Let me know you're still in this with me. And don't forget to subscribe, because this is the place where we talk openly, honestly, and without shame about the things most men over 60 were taught to keep silent. You've still got so much life ahead. Let's walk that path together with awareness, strength, and quiet pride.